The topic of discussion today: is it okay to physically abuse a child? On paper, no, I don't think you should. I don't think it's right to, want to physically abuse your child and whatnot. But, I believe there is a line that must be drawn, and that's with everything in life. You push your buttons a bit too much, I think it's only right that they do get punished for it. Now, that doesn't make you an abuser. But they have bruises. I think to beat someone to the point where they do start to, suffer from bruises and consequences and things like that, I believe that is where you start to draw the line between things. But I believe, and we all like to, class violence as, inherently bad. I believe based on the context, it doesn't have to be bad. Let's say you have a child, right? The child wants to do X thing. The parent tells them otherwise. Usually during these scenarios, the parent tends to be right, but they have a lot more life experience, they tend to know what's right and what's wrong. And so they start to have a grudge match in terms of morals, what they want. And if the child acts up, the parent's gonna have to slap them to let them realize that what they're doing is wrong. Now, I'm not talking slap to the sense there where, bruises, you knock them out unconscious, no. But I mean slapping in the sense of you feel some form of pain, but not excruciating pain. Just a little tap on the face, Maybe a little bit harder. Just a slight sting which may last for about a second or two. Now, like I said again, I don't believe it's right to abuse your kids. But part of me feels like, just inflicting some form of punishment is needed for them to learn a particular thing. Naturally as children they're gonna act up. You see this all the time, like, I believe it's like TLC shows. Those shows like Super Nanny and stuff like that, where the kid acts up and then they call Super Nanny in. I know the show's not running anymore, but you get the point. The kid acts up and then they call for some form of assistance, right? Sorry, pardon me. They call for some form of assistance, for aid. And what tends to happen is the kid needs to be punished. Well, at least that's where it should come to. Because when you don't punish someone via, inflicting violence in some way, shape or form, that's where disrespect continues. Let's think of police officers. Police officers, right? You see them in public. Why do you think they carry pistols on themselves? In every country, that can't be by coincidence, right? No. Those police officers have the pistols, and the reason why we don't charge at police officers is because we know they will shoot if they have to, and it will be justified. Now, I know you guys often say killing is wrong, and I absolutely do agree. But I know there are some scenarios where, violence has to be the only way. To shut someone up. It most definitely reduces the rate of crime. It provides a sense of security. Hence why I say if you're in like a social concert setting, something breaks out, let's say a knife crime or tries to attack, well, the police with the gun is going to prevent the knife crimer to want to commit such crime, because they know if push comes to shove, I'm going to have to blast her ass. If, in some way, shape or form, by some circumstance, it was certain that the police officer wouldn't shoot, what do you think would happen? Well, the knife crimer will attack the police. The police will eventually die. Now, the same may not be the same scenario, but the same concept exists for parents and children, that dynamic. What do you think will happen if the child knew it was guaranteed that the parent wouldn't hit back? Well, the child is going to physically abuse the mother or father. When I was a kid, I never put my hands on my mom because I knew what was up. And when you have African parents, hey, if you're African, if you're Asian, you guys know what's up. You guys already know. You guys are from that background, man. Them type of parents, they ain't putting up with your bullshit. They have this certain aura about them. Now, part of me does also agree that I guess in a way you could say our parents did go too far in the sense of, in terms of inflicting pain on us, you know, as a child, abusing us. Although it did shut us up, I believe it did leave some form of trauma within us. Do I forgive? Yes. But forgiving doesn't really justify their actions beating us. And for most people, it doesn't really traumatize me anymore, but I imagine for many people, your parents beat you in the past, so it may have left some form of trauma. So potentially they may have gone too far. I don't think they were thinking years ahead. They were more so thinking, how can I shut this kid up right now so they can obey me? Is child abuse right? I don't think so. But I also believe there's another way of going about it. Now don't get me wrong, I still believe some form of violence has to be done. And that's with pretty much any context. I believe respect comes with some form of fear about the other person, knowing that there is a consequence that will happen. If you push your luck, some form of consequence will happen. Why do you think no one runs someone over? Because you know you're going to get a fine, and your punishment, your form of violence, and it may not be in a physical sense, but it may destroy you mentally, it will violently destroy your mind mentally, having your life taken, and just having the realization that you killed someone, that will bite you every day, and that violence will crush you mentally, wasting all your years in prison. You know, that's their form of punishment. So there's a way to go about things. I still don't believe hitting your children, but some form of punishment which will really make them just realize what they're doing is wrong and put them to the right path, I think that's really beneficial. Now, I've been beaten in the past many times, you know, our African parents, so. And I most definitely would say I came out right. However, and you know, I said some form of punishment is needed to humble the kid and make them learn. I do agree with that, and I'll probably pursue that path, but not be in the sense how my parents did, because I believe they did go too far sometimes, a bit too violent. I'm talking hitting us, and I believe you can speak for yourself also. Hitting like we're the same age. Sometimes it was a bit too hard to me, fucking hell. I'm gonna keep it a buck. I'm being honest. So I think it's really about, you know, I'm gonna end it off by saying this. How would I frame it into words that aren't complicated but make it sense? I think violence is good depending on the context. I don't think it's inherently bad. You know, the first connotation we hear is bad because it is, yes, you're inflicting pain. But as we know, sometimes you have to go through some form of adversity in life to become a lot stronger person. And so I believe, based on the context in which something is used, it will justify the action. Let's say you're a man, but as you're a man, you know, life is hard, right? I don't see the shame in, you know, sparring your kids, do some better boxing with them. Maybe pop their eye a bit, teach them a lesson about how the world works, to get what you want, you to fight for it. I don't see what's wrong with that. You're just preparing them for the real world. I don't see an issue. That's my take. I think, depending on the context, you know, I'll say this. There's a difference between abuse and just teaching a lesson. Abuse is just straight up hurting someone to the point of no recovery. If you see that, like, genuine marks, I'd class that as abuse, that if you genuinely traumatize them. But I mean that if you smack them in the sense of, oh, life just woke you up, a wake-up call. It's like, don't spend too much, don't spend more than you have, or you're going to have that boom moment where life just slaps you. That's going to be your equivalent of a parent slapping you, but except life does it to you in terms of the realization. Wake up, get your shit together, stay focused. I don't know where I'm going with this. I don't know. But yeah, I believe it's based on the context. But in terms of just hitting, like a normal thing, no, you shouldn't get to that point. But sometimes a lesson must be taught, and if they draw the line, put too much disrespect, they have to be humbled. That's how I see it.